Hello again, back in the workshop. This time I have the instructions for the water pump, and so today I'm going to figure out how to get the water pump off, get a new one on, get the new timing belt on, and hopefully that'll be everything sorted on the engine timing area. So as often seems to be the case with the Toyota service manual, it recommends taking off a whole load of stuff, including the tensioner pulley that I just put on, cam pulleys, this plate back here. But looking through the instructions and looking at the engine, I think this whole water pump assembly is just held on, I don't know if you can see, but there's two bolts attaching it to some hard lines there. So first thing I'm going to try and do is just undo them and then see if the whole thing comes off. So if my theory is correct, I should now just be able to remove this whole water pump assembly from the engine block. I've removed the idler pulley because I worried it was going to get in the way of getting the pump off. I think with hindsight, I should do the water pump first. Got it! So I'll take this over to the bench, clean it up, get the new pump on it. So first thing I've got to do, scrape off all this old shitty gasket. Right, so I've got water pump housing and thermostat housing all cleaned up. I'll start by putting the new thermostat in. I have to ensure the jiggle valve lines up with this little notch on top here. So it's kind of, and apparently it can be within sort of 5 or so degrees, but I'll just try and get it as lined up as possible, so that looks perfect. For those like me who had never heard of a jiggle valve until very recently, it is to allow air through the thermostat when the thermostat is closed, so that the thermostat can so you can bleed air around without getting airlock stuck in the radiator side of the system. There we go, that's it. So that's dropped in nicely there. As you can see, jiggle valve, slightly out of whack, but it should be good enough. Because I'm guessing that's, the reason it's going to be that way is because that's the top of the engine, so air's going to go up and through the jiggle valve. What a ridiculous name for a thing, but it does jiggle. Water pump housing goes like that, jiggle valve has to be facing upwards, so that means thermostat goes on like that. Right, so now I'm ready to put the new water pump on. One thing I didn't realise is these birds are really annoying, but also there's actually an O-ring lodged in there. I've got a new one with the kit, so I've got to try and dig this one out. God, that is well in there. See, while I get the impression the timing belt was done fairly recently, I don't think the water pump was, so I'm glad I'm doing this. I mean, this O-ring is shot. So this is odd. We've got this gasket to go over here, which clearly doesn't fit, which is wrong. But the picture in the manual, which is for the same year engine, also shows a gasket this shape. And the one that came off ours is like that. I don't really want to reuse it. So I think what I'm going to do is try and cut a new one out of gasket paper, the right size, and hope it doesn't leak. But if any of our very knowledgeable MR2 viewers could know what happened, it's a 93 revision 2 car. Maybe they changed the water pump at some point, but you know, this water pump set was for a revision 2, this manual is for a revision 2, and they both show a gasket this shape. This is the O-ring that came off one of the pipes that goes into this, and this is our replacement, and it is bigger. Now, I can get a replacement O-ring fairly easily, it's just, you know, it makes me start wondering about the main gasket. Is this going to be right for this housing? All the holes seem to line up perfectly. I can't see any issues with that, so I'm just going to go ahead with this, but please leave a comment if you do know of any differences between the revisions and the water pump housings. So, if you're one of the 3 people who watched our short-lived drift trike project series, you'll have already seen gasket making process, but basically I've got gasket paper that is supposedly waterproof and oil resistant and all that shit. So just got to find one the right kind of thickness to match up with this gasket they gave us, and I think it's going to be this one. And then just cut myself something that size out of it. There I have one replacement gasket. Yeah, spot on. Right, so I'm going to go ahead with the new water pump. Housing here. There's a new gasket, and I don't think it has a way it goes. It just, I can only go one way, can't it, idiot? So yeah, that goes there. So apparently I forgot to hit record, but I've got new water pump on with the gasket, a couple of the bolts bolted down, so it's pretty much ready to go on back onto the engine now. So I just learned something, so I thought I'll share with the rest of the world. The reason you got this one hex key bolt here, which is tapered, is it actually locates the water pump in the right place. So start with that one. Then do up the other ones. Should get everything nicely lined up. So first up, I'm going to put a new O-ring on here. Try not to roll it. There we go. That sits quite nicely. Just going to put a little bit of dish soap on there just to help lube it up when it comes to insertion. Always good advice. So next up is the water pump with its homemade gasket. So that goes on that way. And also got a fresh O-ring on that back mating surface there. Now I've got to try and juggle getting all of these into position. Okay, now that's the problem. This O-ring fell out, so I'm going to try and sort of stick that in place with a bit of soap. Try and juggle three things at once here. I've got to get that O-ring to stay where it is, this one in, and the gasket in. So start with that. Oh fucking hell. How are you supposed to do this? Right, so I've put a little bit of silicone grease on that O-ring there just to hold it to the housing. So hopefully now okay, it seems to be staying, that's a good start. Okay, that is on. Right, now it's just time to bolt it all up. Now these two bolts around here are even harder to see and access with the thermostat in place, so apologies for camera angles, but I'm going to do my best. Good and tight. Good and tight. So now it's a case of torquing these down, and the order is 1, 2, 3, 4. Right, so really getting somewhere. Got the water pump installed. Next up, put the idler pulley back on that we had to remove, and then just clean this shit up a bit and get the timing belt on and hope I don't fuck it up. Wish me luck. So I was just trying to clean all the old oily gunk off this area to get the new timing belt on. I noticed that actually a lot of it seemed to be coming from the oil pump area rather than the oil pan where I originally thought. So I'm wondering if the oil pump could be leaking. While we got it all apart like this, it's obviously worth fixing anything we can find. So I'm not going to do the timing belt just yet. I'm instead going to go home and research about oil pump leaks and how to investigate and such, and that'll be the next mission. So that's it for today. Sorry it's a bit of a short one, I didn't get too much done. Obviously you don't want to get everything back together, put it in the car, get it running and find there's still an oil leak. That would be a fucking nightmare. So I'd rather make sure I've covered every angle before we do that. So that's why I want to pause here and just make sure that the oil pump isn't an issue. In terms of the issues with the odd water pump housing, please leave a comment, especially as I haven't got the time belt on yet. So if it turns out that is horribly wrong, it's something I can fix still at this point. As always, thanks to our patrons. Really appreciate your support. Your names will appear somewhere, as always, and you're getting some day early, so hope you enjoyed it. One other thing, a few of you guys probably know about this, but there's another YouTuber called, I think, Scantron's Garage. I'll put a link here somewhere, and he's putting a V8 longitudinally in the back of an MR2, and he's custom fabricating the whole lot, and it's amazing, and he deserves so many more subscribers and views than he has, so please go check it out, you won't be disappointed. That's it for now, be back soon, thanks for watching.